think for me, one of the worst jobs for building a model railway has to be fitting point motors underneath the baseboard. It's a job I absolutely hate doing. I don't like being under the baseboard to start with. I find it very uncomfortable trying to reach up when you're lying on your back, or sometimes you can't sit up fully to be able to see what you're doing, or you're sitting too high. I really hate being under the baseboard. Point motors, I've had a lot of trouble with point motors in the past. When I first started fitting point motors to my points at the colliery part of my layout, I had all kinds of problems getting the point motor lined up, getting it to throw the point reliably, and other bits and pieces of problems, getting it fixed in the same place, you know, in the right place for it to work properly. I even tried having one of my sons up in the loft, holding the actuating pin on the point motor itself through the tie bar with a pair of pliers, and then me underneath the baseboard trying to get the point motor lined up properly whilst drilling the 2 holes for the screws to fix in. After I got that done, I'll connect the point motor up to the power supply and switch, only to find that when I flicked the switch, the point motor just buzzed, or it would only throw the point one way. Sometimes it wouldn't throw the point at all. And then I was having to get back under the baseboard, take the point motor back off, try and align it again, but of course then the screws tended to just go back into the old holes, so you ended up with the point motor back where it was. And I thought, there has to be a way to be able to do this a lot more easier and more reliable and quicker than you know, messing on the way I have been, because it just seemed to be trial and error with me to try and of the point motors that I fitted, I think I got one right first time, and the rest was an absolute disaster. So as I say, I got on thinking about different things, trying to come up with something, and I've sort of hit upon an idea that seems to work for me, which I'll show you very soon. I've fitted 5 point motors using this method, and I'm happy to say that they all work spot on first time. As soon as the power was connected up to the point motor and I started switching the point motor, you know, to throw the points, they were working fine. They were moving nice and freely. There was no binding, and you were getting the full travel from, you know, from one side to the other. The switch rails were perfect. So anyway, what I wanted to do is just show you how what I've come up with for to do this. I don't know if anybody else has already thought of this. I haven't seen the idea on any YouTube videos or any of the model railway forums. I don't think there's anybody else come up with this, but it really is very simple. It may seem a bit long-winded to start with, but once you actually start fitting the point motors, you'd be surprised how quickly you can get through them. It's not a bad job to do at all, and it really does help with what I consider to be the worst job of building a model railway. Anyway, what I've got in front of me here is I've just got a piece of scrap plywood. This is 9mm plywood, which I'm using throughout on my railway layout. The point that I've got is it's a Peco small radius electro frog point. You can see the wire that comes away from the frog. A lot of people tend to cut this wire off. They say that it's very brittle and easily snaps. I must say that I haven't found that with the points that I've got. I don't know whether they've changed the thickness of the wire, and some people's using older Peco points or what, I don't know, but I've just left my wire on. I've bent the wire, I've straightened it out, I've put it through holes, I've pulled it back out, and it's, you know, it's never broke off or nothing, and it still feels just as good as it was when it was new rather. So I've just left mine on. I don't see any point in making any more work for myself than necessary. As I say, which I'll just leave it on anyway. So anyway, as I say, what we've got is we've got the Peco point, and we've got the piece of baseboard here, which is piece of plywood, which is a simulated baseboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to fit a point motor to this, which is what I'm using on my layout, all the way around the layout on all the points. It's a Peco PL10E, which is the extended pin version, which you can see obviously the pin's quite a bit longer. I wanted to make sure that I had enough pin to come through the plywood and through the tie bar. I wasn't bothered about having to cut the pin to size. Once the point motor was fitted, it was just I wanted to make sure that there was enough, as I say, enough pin for it to come through the hole in the tie bar. Right, so what we have to imagine here is we're looking down on the baseboard, and this is the point here. Now, like a lot of people, will assume that the two divergent lines is already pinned down. So what we're going to do is we're going to join the point onto these two rails, onto the two divergent roots here, and we want to fit a point motor to the point to operate the point for the two roots. So the first thing I'm going to do, just to make sure that the point, I lie the point back on in the same place on the plywood, I'm going to put a couple of pencil lines on, just one at the toe end there, and one on each of the divergent roots there. The reason why I'm doing this is, as I say, is just to make sure that the point goes back down in the same place when I lift the point off for to drill the hole. Obviously, when you come to fit the point to the divergent rails, the two roots, that would determine which way the point lies on the baseboard, but because I haven't got these rails down, we're just having to rely on a couple of pencil marks to keep the point in place. Next thing we need to do is we need to centre the two switch rails. We need them in the centre of that travel. Now obviously there's a spring on the point, so you can't sort of just move it and hold it in the centre. As soon as you let go, it's going to flick one way or the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a couple of plastic card strips, which are just a couple of scrap strips of plastic card, some sort of plastic card bar or something like that, and we'll just place one in between the switch rail there and the stock rail. And we'll take another one and we'll just slide the point across like that, and we'll just get this other one in place. What I like to do with mine is, when I do these, I like to make sure that the two plastic card strips are in the same place. There's a couple of, like, it's a tiny little bit of a kink in the rail there. I like to line them up with that kink, which is probably about spot on there. And then I know that the switch rail will be the switch rails will be centered in, in the middle of that travel. Obviously it's important to use the couple of same size pieces of plastic card. You don't want one thicker than the other, otherwise it's going to throw the whole thing out. Right, next thing we're going to do, I'm going to take my pin vise. You could use a Dremel for this if you wanted to, with a thin drill bit in. I don't know what size the drill bit is, but it's quite a small one. But I prefer just to use the pin vise anyway. What I'm going to do is just put the drill bit through the hole in the tie bar, and I'm just going to make a little bit of an indentation in the baseboard there through the tie bar, which I'll let you see. You'll be able to see the little mark there, just where my finger is. That's where the hole's going to go through the baseboard for the operating pin on the point motor. What a lot of people do with this is they'll drill a hole in there, and they'll drill a couple of holes on either side, and they'll just sort of join the holes up. So what you end up with is like a thin slot, a narrow slot for the pin on the point motor to slide back and forward in. What I prefer to do with mine is I prefer to open mine up properly. I'm going to put a 3mm drill bit through there to serve as a pilot hole, and then I'm going to open the hole up to 10mm. Now you might think that 10mm hole is quite a big hole, and it is quite a big hole, but you'll see that when I put the point back on, it's barely noticeable at all, and by the time you've got your ballast down and your sleepers and rails painted and that, you can barely see the hole at all, which, as I say, I'll show you soon. So what I'm going to do now is, anyway, I'm going to nip across to the other side of the loft, and I'm going to get this hole drilled out. As I say, I'll start it off with a 3mm drill bit and then open it out with a 10mm one. So I'll pause the camcorder for now, and I'll be back in a couple of moments. Right, we've got the hole drilled in the plywood, which I'll let you have a look at now. As you can see, it looks like quite a large hole, probably because it is quite a large hole, but as I say, by the time you get the point motor, the point fitted over the hole, and then all your your ground scatters and your rails painted and your sleepers weathered and all this sort of thing, you'll not really notice the hole in the plywood at all in the baseboard. Right. So as I say, we've got the hole drilled now. We'll just place the point back over there. So next we need to think about getting the point motor ready to fit to the point. As I say, I'm using the Peco PL10E point motors, and the method of fitting them is to use these Peco PL9 mounting plates. You buy them in packs of 5, and you get the screws with them to screw them to the baseboard through these two holes here, one at each end there. You can see them. The point motor itself is fitted through this part of the mounting plate, and you can see these little holes here, and the point motor has little lugs on and the lugs simply go through the holes, and then the lugs is just bent over on the inside, and that secures the point motor to the mounting plate. Also, what I like to do with mine is I like to put a little bit of double-sided tape on mine, because that helps also when you come to fit the point motor. You've got a little bit of tape that'll help hold the point motor in place, you know, whilst you get your holes marked, ready for to drill the holes in for to get the point motor secured to the bottom of the baseboard. What I've got here is I've already got a little bit of double-sided tape on mine, just to save a little bit of time for the video. It's dead easy to do. If you've got some double-sided tape, just sort of peel it back a little bit, and put your mounting plate on like that, and then just make sure you cut it long enough so that the double-sided tape is longer than the mounting plate, and then that'll be fine for fitting to the baseboard. What you need to do is obviously to fit the double-sided tape to the mounting plate before you fit the point motor, because you need to be able to cut the centre part out here, because you need to get access to be able to bend the pins over that come through in the corners there, and it will be a lot harder to do if you've got the point motor already fitted. You've got the actuating pin in the way as well, so it's a lot easier just to fit the tape first and then fit the whole mounting plate to the point motor and do it that way. Right, so what we're going to do now is, just to make sure that the point's held in place properly, as I say, once the hole's drilled, you can go ahead and fix the point down, because there's no need to lift the point from the baseboard again. So I'm just going to mark mine up there, and I'm going to just pin it down in place with a couple of track pins. I normally pin all my track down. I know a lot of people prefer to glue their track, but I like mine pinned down. That's just, you know, it's just the way I do my track work. Some people, as I say, glue it. I prefer to pin it. So what I'll do is, again, with the pin vise, I'm just going to put a couple of holes through in place. I've already drilled some holes in the sleepers, just to save a little bit of time. I normally put 4 pins in the point to secure the point, and I'll show you which whereabouts on the point that I do those. As I say, I'm only going to put the 2 in for now, which I'll do first, and then I'll show you where I put the 4th pin. I use one of these pin vices as well, really handy tool. This allows me to work quite late into the night if I want to, without disturbing the neighbours with me trying to hammer track pins into the baseboard. It also has an adjustable depth stop on as well, which means you can set how far the pin's pushed into the baseboard, to make sure that you're not distorting any of your sleepers or rails or anything like that. Right, so we've got the point secured to the baseboard now. And you have a look under there, you can see the hole in the tie bar, which is where the operating pin's going to go through. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fit the point motor, and that's dead easy to do. Before we do that, we need to put the marks on that I was telling you about before, to make sure that the point motor gets lined up properly with the hole in the mounting plate. What I'll do is I'll just flip that over, and we'll get a pencil and ruler. It's really very simple to do. It's made a lot easier by the fact that we've drilled quite a large hole in the baseboard, sorry, so we can see the sleepers that we needed to see to make sure that we get the hole nice and straight, and the associated pencil marks nice and straight with it as well. So what I'm going to do is just going to go and make a pencil line there and a pencil line there, and flip it around, and I'm going to do the same on this side. And you've just got to get the point motor so it's nice and straight, the point nice and straight, so you can see the sleepers that I was telling you about, and just draw the line across there like that. All you have to do is just make sure that the lines appear to go through the tie bar on the underside of the baseboard. That's all you need to do, and obviously make sure that they're nice and straight lines as well. So what we'll do is we'll take the point motor. Before we fit the point motor, we need to lock the pin in place. We don't want the pin sliding back and forward. A lot of people who fit the SEEP point motors use a clothes peg for this purpose, a modified clothes peg. I don't know if you could do that, if you could use that with the Peco point motors. I've got no idea about that, but what I did anyway was I just used a little bit of evergreen I-beam You can see the I-beam section there, and a couple of pieces of plastic card block just glued on the end with a hole in the middle for the underside of the operating rod for to come through. And all you simply do is just push that in like that. You can see it lying in place there, and then just push this fully down, and the plastic is quite a snug fit in between the two coils, and that keeps the locking pin, as you can see there, virtually in the center of the slot where it's coming through there. Quite important that you do that, otherwise it could end up messing the whole job up. So anyway, take the pin and we'll just push it through the hole like that, and that's it on the underside of the baseboard there, which you can see. Now what we need to do now is we need to maneuver the mounting plate so that it appears that the pencil lines come through the middle of the mounting plate, which I'll just turn it away from the camera so I can do that, just to make it a little bit easier for myself to do that. Remember, you'll be working under the baseboard doing this, so if you've got plenty light, you'll be able to see what you're doing with that. Once you've got it lined up, just push the point motor firmly down, and then that'll the double-sided tape will get a grip on the baseboard, on the underside of the baseboard, and you can see the point motor fitted there. As I say, you can see that the lines is going straight through the center of the point motor. Obviously I've just done this a little bit quicker than what I normally would, just for the time on the video. Obviously when you do it yourself, you'll take a little bit more time to get it lined up better than that, but you'll see that'll be okay anyway. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll take the two plastic card strips out, because it's time to give this a little bit of a test to make sure that the point motor is in place properly. And we'll just need to just get a hold of the plastic card with a knife or something and just lift the little strips out like that. Take that one out, and then we need to go on the underside of the point, and we just need to remove the plastic that's got the pin locked in place. As I say, I've only done this roughly just and quickly, just for the time on the video, but obviously when you try this yourself you'll take more care. So that's the plastic removed. We've got the two plastic strips removed, and we'll test the point. And if you can see there, I hope you can pick the switch blades up, but they're moving absolutely perfect there. You've got the full range of travel from side to side. There's absolutely no binding at all in that mechanism. That's as free as anything. The point motor, it'll have no problem at all switching those switch rails over from one side to the other. And that's a perfectly aligned point motor on the bottom. As I say, I tried all kinds, and I could get the point to go one way and not the other, and then I sort of had to think about this idea, and I thought, yeah, it might work, I'll give it a go, and sure enough it does work. As I say, I've done 5 point motors this way, and every single one of them works perfectly. There's not really anything more I can say about that. Well, the only other thing that obviously you need to do now is, you can see the actuating pin here from the point motor. That needs to be cut to length. The first time I cut one of those, I used a Dremel in a cut-off disc, and I didn't think of this happening, but what did happen was, when I cut through the operating pin, obviously the heat that was generated by the cutting disc travelled through the pin, and it melted the hole in the point tie bar. So what happened was, when the pin was cut, I tried to switch the point, and of course the point wouldn't move, or not very much, because the hole had become too big. It wasn't as snug a fit round the operating pin as it is there. So I had to just rip the point up. I mean, I don't know if I could have repaired it or not, I didn't even try. Although I'll just rip the point up and replace it with another one, and do exactly the same, fit the point motor the same way, and then just I use an old pair of snips. I've got a pair of like tin snips which I use for cutting the pins off now, and it cuts through those no problem at all. So as I say, you can see you can see that's working perfectly there. As I say, the 5 that I've done is fine, and there's absolutely no reason why yours shouldn't be the same if you do it the way I've said, with just the pencil lines on the bottom. Obviously the double-sided tape helps. When you come to drill the holes, you've got to drill 2 holes. I'll just try and angle this up so you can see it a bit better. Obviously through each end of the mounting plate, you've got the 2 screw holes there. You need to get the screws in, and the double-sided tape helps hold that while you do that. When you drill the holes in to your baseboard for the screws, try to make sure that you keep the drill straight up and down. I haven't had this happen, but I'm surmising it could happen. Whereas if you drilled the holes and the holes was on an angle, when you put the screws in and tighten them up, it may pull the point motor possibly to one side or the other, and then you'll end up with the you know, the point not switching as freely as what it is here, or it could end up binding, or the point motor could simply twist and, you know, not get the full range of travel on the switch rails. But yeah, that seems to work for me. As I say, the 5 that I've done work perfectly. So I thought I would just let you see that, just if anybody's using the Peco PL10E point motors the same as me, and you're having problem getting the points fitted, the point motors fitted, sorry, that might give you a bit of a hand for to get the job done a little bit quicker, because like I say, I hate being under baseboard. So I've done the first 2 point motors, took a little while to do, and then the other ones that I did, the 3 after that, I got them done pretty quickly. As I say, I've still got a few more to do. Well, I'm saying quite a few more to do, and I'm quite confident that this will work every time on, you know, on each of the points that are the point motors, the points that I fit the point motors to. So anyway, so thanks for watching, and I'm sure I'll speak to you soon in another video. So give that a go anyway, and let us know what you think. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.